Cori. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Books and Betches, not to be confused with Books and
Squatches.
I'm Kristen, and with me I have
Erica.
And Maria.
And
Cori.
Hey! If you follow us on Instagram, you know...
Erica's girlfriend's here.
My
Don't
book
make fun
fetch.
of us. We're soulmates.
Yeah. So,
I love it, though. It's like so
Erica,
cute.
this is your first bookstagram friend.
a book bestie.
All right, I'm
Our
gonna let
love
you-
story is real.
I'll let you introduce Cori and just tell us about how you met and all that stuff. Go.
Well, Cori can.
Oh, yeah. I guess I could. We actually, when I first started Bookstagram, before I had 100 followers, I had Erica. And she reached into my DMs, and we recommended a few books to each other and loved every book that we recommended, probably because we were trying to impress each other.
True.
And then we became book friends. And I am very selective with, having book friends and, because I don't like to talk to people who don't like books that I don't like. But Erica and I have been talking. It's almost our friendiversary. It's
almost our friendiversary.
By the time this episode releases, it'll be our friendiversary.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
So Cori's on Instagram. It's Romancing the Reader. You've seen us post her stuff plenty of times.
Romancing the reader?
Yeah.
Is it not?
Is it like romancing?
Is that
Romancing?
Oh, you put the wrong accent on the wrong syllable there.
Romancing the reader.
Yeah.
Romancing sounds
romancing.
Am I saying it wrong?
Romancing.
You
the
said
reader.
romancing. I say romancing.
Oh, we're saying the same thing.
Oh, okay.
To
No,
be
we're not.
clear, my
Romancing
handle
the
to eliminate all confusion.
Is Romancing the Reader.
just take your words for it.
But Erica, how did you find her? How did this happen?
In our beginning stages, if you've been here from the beginning, we started out with 1,000, basically 1,000 followers, and most of it was our friends and family.
Yeah.
And to be honest, we were just trying to connect with people online and try to build a follower base.
Bookstagram is weird where if you follow people on Bookstagram, they tend to follow you back. And I don't know what the order was here. I don't know if I found you guys.
No
but
idea.
I can't remember.
Don't know.
But that's one thing I'm weird about is the second you follow somebody, they follow you back. And that's why if you look at all Bookstagram accounts, it's their followers and their people they follow are almost equal.
all
That's
mutuals.
true.
Yeah.
I don't do that anymore.
Yeah,
Back when you first start, you're supposed to sort of follow
Yeah.
and follow
Yeah,
back.
there's a lot
It's
of
part of the
game.
etiquette. The etiquette of Bookstagram.
So we ended up talking, and I think we just vibed and
Caught a vibe.
but we ended up talking about real stuff. And we both have
And our husbands look exactly the same. It's very weird.
They have
I
the
need to
same
see a picture of your
vibe.
husband.
Yeah, I do
Yeah,
too.
Dan has a beard and brown hair. They look, and they're pretty much the same height when we met.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
I love that this is where our podcast has taken us, and I think it's part of the reason why the Bookstagram, when we started our podcast, it was, hey, this is funny. Our
here to
friends,
entertain,
our friends and family will find it. If people find it, that's funny, that's cool. We get to talk to each other. When we started doing Bookstagram and started talking to people, we were like, wait, this is a really cool way. We could make friends, and to see it
make people
happen
happy and
is very neat. I love
help
it.
people
Yeah.
find each other, help people
Yeah.
find mutual interests
Yep.
and all this stuff.
It's cool.
But
we're all just people. We're all just humans
Yeah.
on the other side of the
Yeah.
plane, and I think it's really neat to see
But
it come
Cori,
together.
so if you don't follow her and you're a fan of the podcast, I'm very surprised because we literally post her shit all the time.
Yep.
But she has really great romance recommendations,
Yeah.
and she does really in-depth reviews and stuff that are just. It sucks because I'll be like, all right, I'm going to read these 3 books, and then she'll post a review, and I'll be like, well, okay, fuck me, I guess. So, and then
Saves
I
you
don't
time,
read those.
though.
But yeah, she definitely she has a system in which she rates things, and it's really, really consistent. So you know what you're getting. If you align with let's say you read a bunch of Cori books and you
That's
you
nice.
agree with hers, then you know because she's
Yeah.
consistent across the board of what she likes and
That's
what she
good.
doesn't like. So
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I have this very weird power where people are I only read books that you recommend now. And I was like,
That's awesome.
It's
and
insane.
sometimes I'm like, really? That's weird. I just picked this one out. So I was bored, but
Was
yeah.
this book that we're doing today, was that a Cori book?
I have reviewed it. I did put out a review on it. It was not something I picked.
Is it because it was
it's popular.
trendy?
It's trending.
Actually, I don't, again, 1,700 followers. I don't know where I get this stance on ethics and Bookstagram, but I always feel I have to review the ones that are trending because I'm man, I
You're
really
providing
should.
a service.
Yeah.
We're just
Service.
here laugh with us or not, but
Yeah.
you're no, I'll give you the service you
Yeah.
need.
Yeah.
And I've read a couple, a couple of months ago, I did all the top 10 romance novels on like the
cool.
USA Today and New York Times. So I try to keep up with the trending ones. That's how it got into my stack. I don't know how you guys picked it. I think it's probably because it's popular. It's like very, it got a lot of hype.
I think a lot of people were asking us to cover it.
Yeah, and the book that we're talking about is Love Hypothesis by who?
Allie Hazelwood.
Yeah.
Allie Hazelwood. Do we know
She's
a lot about Allie Hazelwood? Has she written other?
She is a woman in STEM, so she's a woman from science, and she
Oh.
wanted to see.
You could tell.
She wanted to see
Really?
more books representing women in the science industry and the academic side as well.
So
And
she just wrote.
So she just fucking. So
That's
she was.
cool.
Her life was all about writing like research papers and actual like science papers, and then one day she just wanted to do more
Whoa.
romance stuff, and then look at her now.
I would say,
That's
like,
neat.
you could definitely tell in this book that it's like
Yeah.
rooted in realism.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's cool. That's like a good thing for people listening. Like if you're in a different, like anybody could write a book, right?
Yeah.
And whether it's good or not, that's debatable. But anybody can write.
It's also
a book.
subjective.
Well, the number one
That's
rule,
cool.
the number one rule of writing, right, where you know.
True.
And you
she
can
did.
tell she did that with this
Yes.
book.
That's awesome.
Exactly.
So love hypotenuse is what?
When I keep calling it, I can't stop.
I think it's because I said
it's a
hypotenuse.
Freudian slip.
On a
I feel like.
podcast.
Well, I
recently.
said our hypotenuse on our podcast when we were talking about stealing jokes a while back, and I think it slipped into your mind and it's been stuck there ever since.
It's dug in. It has claws.
That's a very strange word to
It's
get dug in your head.
I wish
Hypotenuse.
I
She
was
has a lot
high.
of words in her head.
Okay, well, love
I have
hypotenuse.
a lot of things in my
What
head.
genre is this?
So it is
Romance?
romance.
Contemporary romance.
Just strictly a romance.
Straight up romance.
It's
babe.
technically like there's a little bit of enemies to lovers and like some like
The
tropes
Yeah.
wise. But it's very strictly romance.
What are the other tropes?
Emily,
Office place romance in a
Fake-
way, or
fake
workplace.
dating.
Workplace.
Fake dating.
Fake
Fake
dating is the
dating.
biggest one.
Yeah,
I wouldn't call it really enemies to lovers.
yeah, I guess you could be.
It's more so
light.
everybody else is his enemy.
Yeah,
He's not really mean to her
it's like
ever.
misunderstood man to lover.
Yeah.
That's a good trope.
But
yeah.
the biggest one is fake
Yeah,
dating.
Fake dating.
Okay.
That like is a real trope though.
Yeah,
like
it is.
misunderstood man.
That's like a real thing.
I
Yeah.
started adding tropes to my reviews, and sometimes I'm like, angry, dark, brooding billionaire. Like, is that a real one?
We're going to have like a million of them. All right. So if you're just starting to listen to this podcast for the first time, we do this thing on the podcast where we explain the plot summary of a book in 60 seconds or less.
Wait, does that
obviously.
mean I'm doing Neon Gods?
No, Corey's
Corey's
just going to do
doing
it
both.
both.
Corey's with us for 2 episodes.
They're
Yeah.
so mean to you.
No, it's okay. I practiced. Didn't practice. I didn't time myself, but I
Okay.
No,
kind
it's
of made
okay. You're
myself
gonna be
understand
great.
what
You're
the
gonna
book
be
was.
great.
Everybody says
We're
something
all
They
along
have to
terrible.
practice.
Yeah, no, I
We're
know.
all terrible
We've
at it.
practiced
by
like,
doing it. You're right.
We don't practice.
So Cori is going
Doing
to
it,
do 60 seconds or less the entire plot summary of Love Hypothesis.
it'll be easy.
Corey?
Easy peasy. You got this.
Are you ready?
Yes,
Doesn't
I'm
matter.
ready.
Here we go. In 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, so we already established Love Hypothesis is a romance novel. It is based in the science world. It follows Olive, who is a student who's in her last couple years, and she's working through getting some cancer research done. I'm not a woman in STEM, so I'm just gonna put that there. I had to look up some stuff in this book. It also follows Adam, who is actually the rock star of science. The two of them have some things that they have to get over as far as some social stigmas.
30 seconds.
Especially without Adam being such a rock star. People think he's going to move away from his university, so he's not getting funding. So they decide to fake date for a while, and it's just as awkward as you would think with 2 science nerds, even though Adam is a rock star. And
15.
Jesus. and a bunch of shit happens. Isn't that what we do here? Yes. A bunch of shit happens. There's some awkward sex, and they end up together.
Hey! With 5 seconds to spare, ladies and
There's a
gentlemen.
bunch of awkward stuff.
I have a couple
It is
questions.
pretty awkward.
I don't know that I'm clear. I don't know that I'm clear on why they started fake dating, but let's start from the beginning because I did not read this book. Obviously, that's me. But I think you did a really good
It
job.
starts off with her kissing him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
So she, her friend is she kind of half dated or liked a guy for
she
a
was
while.
talking to a guy, and then
and she didn't
her
really have a connection with him.
Okay.
but
so-
her friend likes him.
Yeah.
Okay.
And her friend won't date him because she thinks that they have a past. So she wanted to prove that she could
Move on.
So she kisses Adam in the middle of the hallway.
Oh.
when her friend's walking by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So her
Which
phone-
The beginning is just
It came in hot.
Her reason for fake dating is not strong. Like if
At
you're gonna
all.
have
Okay.
if you're
At
gonna have
all.
a fake dating romance, to me, both reasons have to be pretty strong. Hers is not.
Yeah,
like
his is.
His
Makes
is.
sense.
His
His
makes
is.
sense. So he says after they kiss, basically he goes and says, she's like, well, I just had to prove that I was dating someone else. All the rumors start going around that they're dating, and then he says that basically his all of his research has been, like, some of his funding's been put on hold because they're worried he's going to transfer to another, like he's
University.
being courted by a bunch of universities, which actually I think is
Can't
really
he just
cool.
say I'm not going to?
He is, but they don't believe him.
Yeah,
Oh.
but they don't believe him.
That's weird.
He has friends at other universities that are trying pretty hard. He's doing some like cross projects,
Collaborations and stuff with other
Yeah.
people from other universities. So like if
So
you
they're
see
worried.
So it's
your
kinda
head
like
honcho going somewhere with someone from Harvard and saying, we're just going to do a quick collab right here to get some extra funding. But
it feels like an underbelly situation that we kind of like
We
got
don't know.
peeled. Like, we
I
didn't
thought that
know
was very
that
cool.
was, like-
and I looked it up, and it is. It's very,
Yeah.
like, you can withhold
Wow.
grant funding. There's, like, almost one of my husband's best friends is a scientist, and I really didn't get what she did until I read this book. And I was like, oh, that's what Amy gets, what she, like, so they all get grant funding and stuff like that, but there's a certain amount of funding that is released by the university, and that's the stuff that they're holding back until he can prove that he's going to stay there. So he uses Olive as, like,
That's
if
his
I'm
way?
stuck here.
I wonder how
like,
often that
and he's
happens.
also a PhD professor.
yes, he's
I
also
bet
a
this
professor.
does happen in real
It does.
life.
I think it's an aspect of the book that I wish could have been explored a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because it's really fascinating, and especially because women in STEM, you don't hear about that as often as you should.
It's like
we
marrying
forgot
to
the
stay in
we
the
forgot
country.
the prologue though.
Oh,
What
come
prologue?
on.
What's the prologue?
When how this whole thing started, which she was like interviewing for the
yes.
Oh, yeah.
So
Sorry.
the
You go ahead.
the prologue is like she's interviewing for this spot at Stanford, and she put in like old contacts
To be a PhD candidate.
to be a PhD candidate. She put in old contacts. Her eyes are all fucked up. She runs into a
That
bathroom.
happens to me all the time.
She runs into a bathroom and she's like, it hurts, whatever. And then Adam
she
comes
came
in.
into the
she doesn't
she
know
came
who
to
it
the
is,
men's
though.
bathroom.
She goes no. She goes into a specific labs bathroom.
Yeah.
Oh, I
She
thought it was a men's
She
bathroom.
went into his labs
labs
Oh,
bathroom.
so his personal
So
bathroom.
he walks in and he sees her on the ground and he's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And he's
Yeah.
an asshole. So
Yeah, he's a dick.
and she's just like, "I put in bad contacts," and they have this very
Good banter.
good
Good
banter.
conversation.
When I first started this book, I was like, oh. I
Yeah.
was like, okay, because I knew Cori and Maria were like a little
Yeah.
lukewarm on it, and I was like, this feels pretty good right now.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I was feeling
And
good
that's
at
the prologue.
opening
It's a
this.
good prologue.
It's a
And
good
also,
prologue.
he gave her great advice because she was
Yeah.
worried about not being
Yeah.
able to get into Stanford as a PhD student, and he gave her some solid advice of like, I can't remember what
It was
it
like follow your passion.
Follow
Make sure
your
you're
passion.
passionate
Yeah.
about
If
what
this is
you're
what you want to
pitching.
do.
Yeah,
Like
that
it's
kind
not
of
about
stuff.
what they think about what you're doing. It's what you want it
Yes.
to do. And yada.
So,
and so her
but
main,
she couldn't see him.
Yeah,
No,
so
she
she
couldn't see
couldn't
who
see
he
him.
was.
She didn't know who he
Oh,
was.
no.
because her eyes are so blurry.
And one thing that I will tell
can
you,
hear him.
I love in a romance
That's
novel is when a man loves a woman the whole friggin' way through.
The whole
Yeah.
time.
Like you
The
can
whole
tell,
time.
like
From
I
the
get all like
beginning.
bubbly, and you The just whole like time. know it,
I
and
like
they
the whole
don't
time.
know it. I don't care. I don't care. Everybody's like, "Oh, miscommunicate." I'm like, I don't care.
I don't care.
If
I
that
love
guy
it
loved
too.
her, like so,
We can tell as readers.
Towards the end of the book, I know we give spoilers on this podcast, but
We do.
towards the end of the
I
book, you
forgot to
do
warn.
find out that like he did love her. Like he literally has been like looking
Obsessed
for
with
her
her.
Yeah.
since she left the bathroom. He's been looking for her. He finds her. Like all of his friends know it's her, so it's like they're all like giving him advice.
He's been talking about her for the last like
Yeah.
2.5 years, being like, this girl's amazing,
Yeah.
but like it's just you
Okay,
know,
he,
so-
he never knew how to approach her because also he's very just awkward.
Yeah.
So
and
I-
he's in a position of power.
power,
ty-
yeah. So he was
technically.
just uncomfortable with the
Which
whole
is
thing.
very
So when
quickly,
she
addressed.
kisses him,
Okay, yeah.
he's like,
Oh damn.
oh.
Yeah. But is he a dick about it?
No.
And
he
for
doesn't
what
pop
it's
up
worth, while we discuss the fake dating being a little like the reasons, he pushes her into fake dating because he wants to be with her.
Oh, of
like he's
course,
like, this is a really
obviously.
good opportunity for us
Yeah.
to like.
Yeah.
So what's
Spend
her
some-
what's her reason then?
The friend not
The friend.
not thinking she's
That's it?
hung
She
up on
wants
that
her
guy.
friend to date the guy that
That's
she dated.
bonkers.
So
It's
she's
dumb.
like, if I
is.
keep dating, if I keep this like facade up that I'm dating this professor,
Then I don't have
she,
to date this other guy.
Then
No,
my-
that
my
my,
friend
friend's gonna
will
feel
think I'm over
okay.
it.
Yeah.
And her friend does. Her friend ends up dating
Yeah.
that guy.
It's
I'm
a
sorry,
weak,
but that's
it's a weak.
insane.
version.
It's
pretty
a
dumb.
it's a very weak.
I would never do that for my friends. Just
Also,
to get
I
my
would just
friend
have
to
a
think.
conversation with my friend, and my friend should believe me.
Yeah.
I think she did say that she tried to. I personally think like that was a pretty weak reason for her
Yeah.
to do it. But
I
he
think
was
his
so
is good.
His is really good,
Yeah,
and
that
he
makes
was very
sense.
convincing.
because his
and,
was
like,
fake, but also kind of real at the same time.
Yeah.
Like I don't think he actually gave a shit about his funding because he could have gone
Yeah.
somewhere else.
I think
but
he was planning to leave
like,
anyway.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
but I think he was like very much like, oh, this is a good opportunity for me to
Yeah.
slide into her DMs.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then they start fake dating. So that happens early on then.
Very quickly.
Yeah, it's within the first like 3
within the
chapters.
first- yeah.
Oh wow.
3 or
Okay.
4 chapters.
So we're in it.
It's a short book.
So is most of the
300 pages, yeah.
Would you say most of the book is them navigating their
fake dating.
relationship?
Yeah.
So like
So
what's
they get put in like
exciting?
they
Give me
get put in
something.
like awkward situations with each other where like
Yeah.
they have to be close proximity, but like they're obviously like not dating, so it's uncomfortable. So
Also,
like,
Olive's
Yeah.
main thing right now is that she's trying
like
to
these
get
names, by the way.
funding. She's trying
I
to get
love
funding.
Olive.
Yeah.
Remember, this is also a fanfic of Raylo. Like
Yeah.
Ray
I
and
reject. I reject
and
it.
Kylo Ren.
Wait,
I
wait,
reject-
wait,
I mean,
wait,
you
wait,
can't
wait, wait.
reject it if the author
It is.
says it is.
It is.
I
you can reject that she
reject
did
it.
it well.
It is.
Stop.
Have
Yes.
you seen the cover? The cover is
I
Ray
get
and
it.
So
Adam.
this
I get
is
it.
she wrote it originally,
Like Star
wrote
Wars?
parts of this
Yes.
as a like Kylo Ren
And Rey.
Okay, I'm never gonna
fanfic.
understand fan fiction. Never. I didn't understand how After had involved the
I don't
Harry
get it.
Styles.
I don't get it
So you're
either.
taking the idea of a real person and turning them into a
character,
character, but
a
you're not
fictional person.
using any of their characteristics. I don't
Yes,
get it.
Adam is. Well,
But Adam was like very like
he's
I
very
would-
much like Kylo
Does he
Ren.
have a lightsaber?
no.
Then it's not the same.
He has a lab coat.
He has
He's
a
a
lab
lab
coat
coat.
and
This is
some
bullshit.
pipettes.
No, I don't want to diss. I don't want to diss all of fan fiction. I'm just never
So
gonna get it.
I would say
That's
like you take mannerisms of that. I do not like fan fiction. I'm not a fan fiction fan.
One time I said I was a newfound blonde fan, and that was pretty close.
Yeah, that's really tough to
newfound fan
say.
fiction fan.
Hey.
So like Kylo Ren is a man of very little words.
Yeah.
So is Adam. One of the things that I did not like about this book is that Adam is a man of very few words. I think he
doesn't say anything.
If you took his dialogue for the book, I think it would be maybe 10 pages.
Couldn't you
like,
just?
total.
Wouldn't you just? This is the way I would approach it. If I was like, "Wow, I really like this character in this movie,
Make one
Star
like
Wars,"
it.
I would want to, and I want to like write a character that's like him. I don't think I would want to tell people it's fan fiction.
She
I would
named
wanna
him
pretend.
Adam,
She
which is
named
the
him
name
Adam.
of the actor who played Kylo Ren.
And
I
then
would
the
wanna keep it
picture
my
on the
secret.
front, he is like very
looks
much
just
Kylo
like
Ren.
him.
Really?
And she has the
Yeah.
bun
Yeah.
that Ray sort of has.
My problem with Adam's
everything is
dialogue
fan
is he
fiction.
said more in text messages than he did in
Yes.
real life.
Yeah.
So what was
that
intriguing
that
about
shows
him?
he's not good in person. He's good in the
But
written
like,
form.
listen,
so why was he so good in the bedroom?
He wasn't good in the bedroom.
But he like
that
he
sex scene
navigated it.
turned me off.
I need to know more about. Is it an erotica or is
it's
it?
No.
It's,
It is.
erotica, but
If
it's
I had to
pretty,
give it
it's
a-
pretty steamy.
Jesus, what do you read?
Not what you read,
There's one sex scene
ma'am. I'm okay with it.
and like 2 kisses
I'm
Wait,
okay
wait,
with
wait,
it.
wait, wait, wait. There's only one sex scene in this whole book.
in the
Yeah.
entire
Whole
book.
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And
But
it
it
was
lasts
spicy.
like a chapter and a half.
Ugh.
It lasted a long time.
My God.
That was long as fuck.
It was a long scene.
It feels,
but
especially if it was uncomfortable.
It was
long as
longer.
it
fuck.
was uncomfortable.
It was
though.
very uncomfortable.
Okay, walk me through the
so
sex scene.
it was
She's not a virgin, but it felt like she was a virgin.
She's a very
She doesn't like sex.
inexperienced. There's this part of the book that people pull out all the time, and they say it's super hot.
out.
Pull out.
Yeah.
They say it's super hot, and they pull it out into like snippets on TikTok and stuff. And it's like, I told this to Erica. It's like the first thing he says, and she's like, she pulls down his pants, and his peener is that. Yeah. I went there. Yeah. His peener is pretty big, and she goes, and he goes, it'll fit. What? And I was like, I never. Like, I literally like shriveled up into a I was like, "Ugh." That is disgusting.
Where do you go from there? Was she like, okay, yeah?
They end up like he gives her an orgasm, which is like her first time into doing that. She realizes that she could be a sexual person for him. Like,
okay.
and
This is why it takes a long time.
yeah, it's like a full and there's a lot of like, again, her narrative is very self-doubt driven. His is like
It's kind of nice though. I feel like
Yeah.
that's different. Like I feel like every single sex scene in books is like straight up experienced and just going
I
at
didn't.
it.
I didn't not
It's
like
different.
it. It just wasn't like hot.
Which maybe it
Agree.
wasn't supposed to be.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I don't
but
know
like
if it
I wouldn't
was.
call this book spicy because
I think if people were naked. To me, yes, spicy.
like it wasn't spicy because it was just like wasn't like hot.
To me, that maybe that's just more realistic for
Like I said,
like a population.
I
of
don't think
people.
I don't think it
Yeah.
deterred from it. I think my problem with it is that people say this book is spicy.
Yeah, that's
and
weird.
It's not.
But that's the problem with these hyped books is because it's people who are coming into these cartoon covers, not expecting an open door sex scene, and they're like, oh my god, like me, they're naked, and then like they go in, that's hot as hell,
So I have
but they're not reading.
I have a spice rating.
Go with your spice rating. What is it?
Well, I can't remember it off the top of my head.
I gotta know what it is.
But
They're
it's
like chili
basically
peppers.
like 1 is nothing.
Yeah.
2 is if there's like implied, like if it's like I read this one book, it was called If the Shoe Fits, and they like kissed. And they were like, the next morning I woke up next to him and I was like, were you naked? Like, that is
Need more information.
That's a 2.
I read a book like that. That was like, he talked about like getting a blowjob from her.
Yeah.
But it was closed door.
Yeah.
And I was like, the fuck? What was that? You
Did we
promised
get it? Did
things.
we get it?
I literally only, because
Did we
like
get
the
it?
end of this book ends in love, like if the shoe fits. And I was like, but did you fucking like,
Did the shoe
did you do it?
Did the shoe actually fit?
Yeah. So that's like closed doors 2. 3 is that there's sex, but it's not anything like kinky at all.
Okay.
4 is typically where most of my books that I read rank, is like there's sex, it's hot. 5 is like
Caliente.
the kind of
Diapers Den.
yeah.
What would you rate?
That Viper's Den is a 5. I think Viper's Den was like done for some
You
kind
keep
of like
saying
shock.
Viper's Den. That's not the name.
Den of Viper. Well, she said Diapers Den.
It's Diapers
Den,
Den.
Den of Vipers.
I was saying Viper's Den for the longest time too.
Thank you for that.
I'm saying
Yes.
it as a joke.
Den
Welcome
of
to Diapers
I
Den.
got you.
Welcome to Books and Betches, where we butcher people's
You're gonna be
titles.
saying
Really?
love hypotenuse by the end of this.
I'm never gonna forgive you.
So what did you give? You said a 2.5ish.
I said this was a 2.5.
I think
it
that
was
sounds right.
fair. Yeah.
That's
like
sounds
there was sex. It was not meant to, if it was meant to be hot, I would be very surprised.
Yeah, but it probably just
but it
wasn't
was
meant
not
to be.
closed door. So
Yeah.
it's between a 2 and a 3.
So I have a question. You're going through this whole thing, like it's mostly like a love story. Like, what about these books is exciting to you? Is it just the love in itself?
I like
Because
the
I
romance.
get so bored.
It's the butterflies.
But like
of them
nothing's
falling in love.
happening.
I think that the best romance novels have something that happened in them.
Oh,
This
true,
book
true.
did not.
I think that's why I
Um,
liked Erica's.
I think
because it
there-
was
There was
different.
a
Yeah.
storyline with
Yeah.
a romance undertone.
I don't like it when it's just like
romance.
2 people falling in love. It's like, okay, what else?
This is a true.
Give me a pterodactyl.
Like mine, I describe
No.
as a suspense romance.
I think-
because
yeah.
suspense is the first
I don't necessarily think-
But also romance
moves it.
is like, it's not just about them falling in love, it's how.
It's
Yeah.
also
That's
like
the
there's
point.
a lot
That's
of
your extra bit, is how and what keeps them apart and what kind of drama they hit. That's what keeps
just
people
like
reading
a-
it.
when you're in a romance, it is much more than in like any other genre about the character growth.
right.
Like character growth together, character growth on their own.
if they do it well.
Yeah, but that's what it's supposed to be. Like
Yeah.
and I think that people love romance because it's a much more human genre. Like this
Yeah.
is stuff like
It's like
regardless
watching
if it's
reality
a
TV.
yeah, regardless of if it's a 500-year-old warrior or like whatever,
true.
they all feel the same things as we feel,
See,
and
that's
they can
cool,
and
though.
the right book can make you feel that as well.
Okay. I do like the
This
science.
did not happen.
romance.
There are things that I did like about this book.
You wrote notes?
I did write notes for this.
Give
one.
us what you
Girl.
like.
Oh no, I'm gonna start what I don't like.
Okay. Oh, don't
the
like.
paragraphs where it's too fucking long.
Yeah.
Too long. Too fucking long. There was pages and pages of paragraphs that were not into like, ma'am. I don't. I understand
She
you
wrote
used
very
to write.
run-on-y.
Yeah, I understand you used to write for science. I am a reader.
That's a good point.
I'm
I'm a reader.
I was a little.
I'm not an academic.
I was a little confused that Stanford didn't have the funding, but Harvard did. Like, aren't
Wait,
we?
what?
Aren't we both?
Stanford
So
I don't know. I
there
Are we
don't know.
both Ivy Leagues here?
I had a
She would
follower
know better
point
than
out
you would.
to me that there were certain parts of Stanford that were described wrong, and I was like, "Yo, if you're gonna like set this as
Yeah.
a standard for college, but a standard for like STEM romance, like you have to get the
I think when
places right."
I think when they don't describe it enough, they've clearly never been there.
Yeah.
Like when she was
I would've
describing
preferred
Boston.
if they were different universities you never heard of.
Yeah, fake universities. When she was describing, like, she
That's
didn't
true.
describe Harvard. She didn't describe Boston. She didn't describe, like,
Yeah, there was no
anything,
description
like,
of the places or anything.
Ninth House
No.
crushed it with the Yale description.
Dude, Ninth House was
Insane.
so
yeah,
good.
one of the
So
best
good.
descriptions.
A lot of this was very real world. I think as a romance, it fell short for me.
Yes.
But there
As
was
a-
a lot of really cool stuff in the real world. I will say, piling on to something that you mentioned, one thing that I could not stand about this book, and I will, get on this high horse till the rest of the episode. When that man belittles her, it's Adam's best friend.
Yep.
When she doesn't tell him, and when she finally does tell him, she has somehow her phone was recording.
Because she was recording from her.
She was recording from.
She was recording
She was
from her
recording
speech.
her actual speech.
Yeah, and she never stopped it.
Okay.
And so I guess she caught him yelling at her.
Okay.
And instead of, to me, especially in these male-dominated worlds, my thought and what would have made this book, to me, maybe
10
more
times
to a
better.
4, is if she told Adam and he believed her without that recording.
Yeah.
Because
She had to play the
she
recording
didn't
for
even
him.
give him a chance, though. She
Yeah.
never told him. She walked right up to the other guy and said, like,
Click
oh, this
play.
guy totally effed with me. Listen. She didn't even say, like, do you believe, like, they didn't give him a page to make a decision.
And, like,
he heard it and he 100% came to her defense. He helped her. But that's, to me, the
So
whole
you should've.
conversation. Yeah. I mean, there's irrefutable evidence he couldn't have done anything else.
Right.
But
So
if
it's
you
like,
don't give your character
you
the
didn't even give
second
him-
to have that ethical decision on whether you believe your girlfriend or your best friend.
It would have said a lot about who he was.
Yeah,
it
and I
would've-
would have liked him a little. I think I just would have really narrowed in on that moment, being like, he believed her before that
That would
recording.
have been the character
Yeah.
development
That
that,
was
we
it.
were missing.
Yeah.
Because they kept saying, like, Adam is big on evidence.
Yeah.
Adam's big on evidence. And then you give him evidence, obviously he's going to say, yeah, that's...
And it was
that's a good
not
point.
evidence that you could be like, that's not true. Like, he literally heard him say, he was like, you're a horrible person, like, blah, blah, blah. But that was the piece of this book that, when
Fell
I
short
look
for
back
me.
on it and I get angry about how popular this book is, that is where I'm sitting, is like, she did not give her main character, who has the majority of his personality is under wraps. It's in a POV where he's kind of explaining it. It's not he doesn't talk about it. You have to infer a lot about Adam, and she didn't give you a chance to let Adam speak for himself. And like all Olive had to do was be like, hey, your friend did this. And if Adam was like, I don't believe you, we all would have just been like, wow, you're kind of a douche. But like, if she wrote it the right way, he would have been like, absolutely, let me go talk. And then they would have found the recording together or something
But
like that.
also, too, is like it would have made him even double down on the fact that he's always loved her.
Yeah.
But that's where it comes
Yeah.
into play, that she writes for academia and this author is not a romance author.
Yeah.
She's
But now she's
learning.
writing like 1,000 romance
Well,
books.
oh,
So
I'm
like,
sure she'll-
learning.
but
You're
you're
learning
learning.
from it. Yeah.
Character development is probably the hardest
hard.
thing to get in a book. Like one of the hardest things.
And also, this is part of close to the end of the book. So
Yes.
she's probably just
Yeah.
wrapping things up. Also, what people cite a lot is the moment afterwards where he like basically just grabs a guy and put him against the wall, and everyone like loves it.
Yeah.
Because he's like, you'll never touch her again.
He
kind of thing.
fiercely like defends her, but it's because he has
the evidence.
The
evidence and
evidence.
it's
Yeah.
Which it's like,
a scientist would write that.
So
though.
that was your biggest critique. My biggest critique of this is that I feel like the epilogue should have had a fucking crazy sex scene in the lab.
or like any
Just saying.
kind of
Like,
forwardness.
give me something. And so there was one of our listeners. I put this on our story. One of our listeners was like, "Yeah, that's probably not sanitary, and that probably wouldn't happen."
That's a very good point.
Nothing in romance
And
novels
I
is
was,
sanitary.
and I was like, touche. But I was thinking in terms of like television, and like in my college, like we had a full TV studio where there was like a radio lab.
A
Where there
TV
was,
studio is a lot different than
Well, that's
a
what I
lab.
said. Like
A
but we
medical,
had-
like
Yeah.
scientific lab
But
where
we
we're
had, like, a
searching
bunch
for
of
cancer.
rooms.
And there's probably tons of cameras in there just watching all hours of the day.
I'm just saying there was a bunch of rooms. There's a bunch of like
I would have
it was
taken any
lab-
kind of moving forward. All he did was give her a lab coat, and then he was like, "Congratulations!" Like that's like literally the end of the
something.
book.
Like even
Couldn't he
Fade to Black.
propose or like some? I don't know.
I don't
Fade to
think this
Black.
book is meant to.
I know, but
give
I
you
wanted
that.
I wanted a
I
lab
know.
sex
I know
scene.
you wanted it, but I don't think that's what she wanted to
so
write.
they just
I
end
know.
up together and
Correct.
they stay at the same
I
place.
agree.
Right?
Huh?
In the end, they end up together. They stay
They
at the
both
same
go to
university.
Boston, don't they?
They both go to Boston. Yeah, but they end up in the same place. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's the end.
Yeah.
So there was okay, they're still kind of like at a weird point when they fly home from Boston. And we immediately go into a double date with the other gay couple.
Yeah, they get off.
In the,
They get off the plane and go on a date.
One of her like roommates or best friends is a gay guy.
Yeah.
And the gay guy gets with
another
professor who's I guess was sort of closeted gay, but I can't remember.
I think he was open, but it
It
is
was-
the only other gay character. She's like, "Hey, my
Yeah.
gay best friend and your gay best friend."
Oh,
Like,
one of those.
My other pet peeve,
Yeah.
since we're on it, the self-awareness of this book, knowing what the trope is, and the constant reimagining of it. So basically, like, she goes into the fake dating with him, and from the beginning, she's like, "Oh, we're fake dating.
Yeah.
There are things that happen with fake
We
dating.
need a meet cute or
So
whatever.
we need to meet. Also, oh my God, we're going to the conference and we're sharing a room. There's gonna be just one bed. I know there's gonna be one bed because that's the trope. And I'm just there
Right.
like, no, ask the concierge for 2 and you got it.
Yeah. He kept saying, he's like, nope, there's
He's
two
like,
beds.
there's 2 beds. And she goes, no, I know I'm going to walk in there. It's going to be 1 bed because this is a fake dating trope. I know what
she
this
says
is.
that?
Yeah.
It was like she knew it was like meta. Like
Yeah.
she knew she was like very
It was
Matrix
definitely
meta.
And like, when I first heard it, I was like, cute. You're self-aware. And then she
And then it got
mentioned it
annoying.
5 times over. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm over it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so over it.
That's fair.
And it
I
was the same joke, too.
yeah,
Over
it
and
was.
over. She's like, in romance novels, this happens. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
But it was about the bed. It was like constantly
always
about the
a 1
bed.
bed trope thing.
But yeah, so what I was saying was that they were like coming back from the thing, and they immediately go on this double date with the other gay couple, and then we have pages and pages of like them
Their
and I'm like,
conversation.
we
See,
still
this
haven't
is what I don't
resolved
like.
the relationship
There
yet.
was a
That's what I
lot
don't
of
like.
space in this book that was dedicated to her conversations and his conversations with his friends. And
That's
I was
so
like,
boring.
Oh
to me.
my god,
That's
It's
so
pretty
boring.
boring.
to
Yeah.
me.
I could not give this book a 4 because of how much I skipped.
and I think she had I feel like when I was reading it, the author might have had an issue with how to pass time.
Yeah,
Because she literally was
that's
like,
tough.
on Tuesday, Adam wasn't around and I went and laid on my bed. On Wednesday,
Adam was there.
on Wednesday was our coffee date. And then after I went to work. And then I came home and ate
It kind
dinner.
of sounded like after in a way where it's like an after you don't know about their schooling, but she's like, oh, Hardin's here.
That's just like inexperienced writing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. You know what?
But that's
if
where
this
they
is her first
dragged.
book,
Yeah.
and if this
That's
is
what
her
I'm
first
saying.
book and
That's
it blew up
pretty
like this,
awesome.
like God bless.
Yeah.
I think I gave it a 4.
I give it a 3. I would say like it was not a book that it was written well. It was grammatically fine. Like that kind of stuff. I think when we talk a lot. Erica and I talk a lot about new writers and making sure that you put your due diligence in, like getting an editor, even if you're going to self-publish, like getting an editor, that kind of stuff. She did really well with publishing a book. What I didn't like was that it seemed like she needed just somebody to help her a little bit with the story.
Yeah.
I feel like there's 2 or 3 tweaks that would have made this a 4 or 5, or even a 4.5. Like I don't know if I would have gotten to a 5 if she didn't like amp up the spice, and that's an author's prerogative. It's not it's mine and the author's issue. But if she would have had somebody, a real editor who can come in and say, you're missing something here,
Yeah.
you're missing something here,
Let's take this chapter
and maybe
out.
give Adam a chance to be his own man for a hot second.
Give him a ball sack.
let him make one non-science, non-evidence-based decision in his whole life.
Yeah.
One, and
Yeah.
it has to be on Olive.
Give them a little bit
Yeah.
more of a backstory.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Like I feel like the mom
I think-
storyline was a little like
What do you mean? Her mom died of cancer?
it was the driving force of her wanting to do her research, but then it died. Like that was it.
No, she's doing it the entire time.
No, but I felt like there was like no like
Did she have any? I
additional-
don't remember. Did she have flashbacks to her mom?
she told stories.
She told stories about it.
Yeah.
Like, I think
like
she
my
did
mom
my
did,
mom.
yeah.
Yeah. But I think like the whole point is her research to do that. It's like,
Yeah.
And also, you have to think about it. Research like this is not a night and day thing.
Right.
It's decades of work. So there's no way she's going to have a resolution
It
to
felt
pancreatic
real.
cancer.
Yeah.
It felt real.
Yeah.
And that's what I think.
And
like,
I think
I'm
sometimes
gathering.
with a
used to.
300-page book, there are some liberties taken, and I think that Allie Hazelwood's like really strict adherence to what is real maybe did her a disservice here for the people who are not STEM related. I did say like one thing that, and I totally understand wanting to be true to yourself on this one. So like it's my issue, not Allie's. I've read some really great women in STEM romance books. This one, there were a few times where I had to get off that book and Google some stuff. Yeah. Like it was a little over my head science wise. And I'm not brushing my shoulders off, but I'm not a dumb reader.
I kind of
Yeah.
like that though.
Oh, I did learn a lot,
Yeah,
but it
it
was like
makes
it
you
took,
learn.
but it
takes
took
you
a
out of
hot
the book,
second.
too.
Like I was
It
like,
could take you out of the book, but that's something I'll make a note of. I was like, I should go look that up real quick. And
it
then
was
I'm
down.
gonna
It was
dive
like
back
some
in.
of this, like just lab equipment and like some like
Yeah.
some weird stuff. She was like, "Oh, we're gonna do this experiment." And
I got
was
the
like,
petri dish.
Yeah, I was like, wait, what? So I like went and looked it back up, like, and it was fine. Like I do like books where I learn something new,
Yeah.
but it was very, like it was very sciencey. Like if I had to give it a STEM rating, it was probably closer to 4 or 5 STEM rating.
So I guess what I gathered from this
Interesting.
book is that it was more realistic than most romance books, which I
would
think
say
is
it's
cool.
one of the most realistic romance books.
Even
I've ever
down
read.
to like the sex scene and down to like just like
It'll fit.
the whole I don't know if I've ever heard that, but
That and the boob in his mouth thing. People don't like that.
He said that
They
he put
think
her
his
whole
jaw
boob.
unhinges like a fucking monster.
That's in
Does
so
she
many
have
romance
smaller
novels.
boobs?
She had smaller boobs.
dude, somebody could fit my boob in
Stop.
their mouth. You want to try?
No.
Oh,
Could try later.
I didn't know that it was this part that kind of podcast.
Yeah,
It can be
that kind of podcast.
Can be.
All right, well,
Yeah.
what
Triple
about
S, baby.
What about recommendations based on
You have recommendations.
You
Yeah.
got to. This is why Corey's
This is what
here,
Cori
baby.
does.
Buckle up.
I would say the books that are most similar that I rated a 4 and a 5 is the Space series. Eric and I have both read the Space series.
Love it.
That's what it's called?
It's called.
Spaceballs.
It's called the first book.
Fuck up.
Well,
not
there
called
is one
Spaceballs.
called
The
Spaceballs.
first one, yeah.
Like the
No,
movie.
the-
It's called Spaceballs?
the
Not the
first book-
series, but the first
No,
book
no,
is
no.
called
The
Spaceballs.
first book is called Space Junk.
Oh, Space
Wait,
Junk.
wait. I
Yeah.
gotta look this up.
So it's called Space Junk. It's by Sarah Hudson. The series is
Phenomenal.
called Space Junk. It's basically the first book is about one of the. It's all NASA women, and it's a NASA engineer.
They're
There's an
astronauts.
astronaut. There's like an engineer that becomes an astronaut. These, and then there's the last two books are about men who, one is an engineer and one is, but her husband, Sarah Hudson's husband, is in NASA. So a lot,
So she has
it is very realistic,
and
but
there's
it's
a lot of science in
yeah,
it.
there's a lot of science in it. They solve problems. There's like
This
an
is
actual.
ridiculous. The cover is
The cover is ridiculous, but it's pretty
not
cute.
fun.
It's
so
fun.
fun.
I didn't expect that.
Yeah,
I didn't
I
expect
think
that.
there's one
It's
that's
light. It's funny.
those books are very science driven. There's a couple other science ones I'll put up when we release the podcast. I'll like put together something for you guys.
You're
But
so
Space Junk
sweet.
is wonderful, and
one of
there's
my
4
favorites.
books. They're all very smart women. I think Space Cowboy is an astronaut and a rancher, and he has to like live with her being like so much more alpha than he is, and it's really cool because he like gives her all the space. Like he's like, oh yeah, like you are a badass astronaut, like yes I will
so
like
cool.
protect you and love
I
you,
like
but
this.
like
That's
they're
cool.
really good books. They are also
the
a notch
spice
spicier
level.
up.
There's-
Just
there are
a
a
notch
lot-
spicier.
Yeah.
But
They're a
what's a
little bit
notch to
twitchier.
you? 'Cause
It's
I
not.
think
There's
you
a
and I are
couple
on
of
the same
sexy.
level.
There's a good
There's a
amount of
couple.
spice. There's I think the Space Cowboy might have some bondage in it. I'm like,
Oh, bondage, Maria.
but
You
like
love bondage.
light bondage.
They might. He might tie her up.
Oh, you
light
love
bondage.
that.
So these are a level up, but I did enjoy the.
I love them.
I love these books.
Space Junk.
Yeah.
Space
So
Junk.
the Space
Spaceballs.
Junk series. So there's
Okay.
4 of them right now.
I
And
think
love
there's
that.
another one coming.
there might be, but Spaceballs is the last one.
I like
which
that you really got that close to like what we were talking about
Yeah.
with the space thing. I appreciate
I
that.
thought I actually in my review for Love Hypothesis, I was like, if you want to read something a little better, like,
like
go on
that.
this way.
I appreciate
I-
you two that you guys read so many books because
too.
She
people
reads more than
ask-
I do.
People ask me like,
my
"Oh, do you
gosh.
have recommendations for this?" I'm like, "Girl, I'm looking too. I don't know. I have no idea."
That's why we have Cori.
like sometimes people will message me and be like, I have this very particular thing that I'm looking for, and I'll be like, well, let me recommend you to my friend Cori.
And then I get the people who are like, do you have a werewolf who also likes to read? I read 500 books last year. I know it's actually like mental
I read
illness.
50.
It's not. It has nothing to do.
Same for Erica.
I
It's
read,
all
like,
depression.
I read
Yeah.
17.
Like good for you though. That's what you can handle.
Good for you though. But it's because of your
Yeah, that's what you can handle.
That sounds healthy. 2 to 500.
Yeah.
500 books is a lot, but I imagine you get a lot of good recommendations out of it. So if you are looking for recommendations, and you
Especially for romance.
like we'll put your handle in the description. It's going to be everywhere. You can go follow Cori, romancing the reader. I don't want to say it
Wrong
wrong.
inflection
Say it
still,
right.
but we'll take it.
And you're also on Discord. You have a book club,
Yes.
which is really
You
cool.
don't have to pay for hers. It's free.
Hers is
Yeah,
free.
Yeah,
free
we have
book
a free
club.
book club.
That's fucking
the most
awesome.
inclusive one you'll find.
Yes. Thank you, Maria.
She's very nice.
I'm a nice person.
She's a nice lady.
She loves when you disagree with like a book that she like
Especially if she loves
if
it.
she recommends a book that she really likes, make sure you hate it.
Tell her about it.
Yeah,
Tell
please
her how much you hate it.
demolish me. It's my secret kink is to tell people I love something and have them
That's
hate it.
called degradation.
Oh my
That's what TikTok told me.
And Cori will be with us in our next episode as well. So if you're listening to this now, you better start reading Neon Gods right this second.
This
Yes.
second.
And follow Cori, and thank you so much for first of all, thank you for being here. Thank you everybody for listening,
guys.
and we cannot wait to catch you on the next one. All right, bye.
Bye.
Bye.